Welcome to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast with Jacob Ayers, providing actionable content to help you along your journey to financial freedom through real estate investing. As the premier asset class, real estate has helped ordinary people just like you amass fortunes. The benefits of passive income from real estate investing will allow you to live a life you want. And now your host, entrepreneur, real estate investor, and apartment deal syndicator, Jacob Ayers.
Hi, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast. I'm so glad you're tuning in. I do realize, though, that you are here for you and not for me, so that's where I want to keep the focus of this show. Today's topic is going to be about exit strategies. As real estate investors, we always get caught up in buying, acquiring, managing properties, but not often enough do we think about our exit strategies. And this is really important going into the deal. You have to understand what your exit strategy is before you buy it. Exit strategies can be things like selling the property 6 months down the line, or turning around and flipping it, or refinancing it and pulling out equity to continue to invest. Whatever that exit strategy looks like for you, it's important to identify it up front and execute it throughout that project. Today's guest is Hendon. Aaron is a listing agent in the Seattle area, and he's going to give us some tips, tricks, and ideas of how to work with your listing agent so that you can reposition your property the best. Without further ado, I'd like to jump into today's episode. Hi, and welcome to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast. Today, our guest is Seattle Realtor, investor, author, educator, and speaker, Hendon. Aaron, thanks for joining us this morning.
Jacob, thanks for having me on. It's a real pleasure.
Hey, absolutely, Aaron. Aaron, could you tell the audience a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Let's see. I've been a residential realtor for about 5 years. I am an author. I'm just getting ready for my third book launch. Before that, I was an investor and I worked in sales for many years. I'm an entrepreneur. I had a bakery for 9 years in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And before that, I graduated art school with my art degree in 1987. So, just all over the map from New York to Albuquerque to Phoenix to Seattle, and then all over the map with interests and things like that. And just love the opportunity to contribute to people. So
yeah, you're really a true entrepreneur, it sounds, Aaron.
Yeah, I love it. I love the opportunity.
So what led you to real estate?
As a whole, well, let's see. Well, like I said, I had done some investing when I had other jobs. And then one of those other jobs left me unemployed during the downturn. And in 2011, I think, just before things started really coming back, I was unemployed and I got a job off Craigslist. This is how desperate I was. I got a job off Craigslist selling, cold calling and selling credit repair services, and got sort of really interested in the credit repair business and started calling realtors that I knew because I thought that would be a good source of reliable business for me as a credit repair salesperson. I thought realtors know people that need credit repair. To the one, all these people that I knew said, look, if you're doing 100 dials a day, which I was, if you're doing 100 dials a day, then you should be in real estate, because if you're doing 100 dials, you'll make way more money. And I had no idea why real estate or being a realtor had anything to do with doing dials. It doesn't look like that, from the outside, from the consumer perspective. Being a realtor looks like it has to do with selling houses, but it doesn't, being a realtor. And this is the same for being an investor, really. If you're an investor listening to this,
yeah, very much so.
Your job is not to flip houses. Your job is to find the houses to flip. The game is find the people whose houses you can buy at a price that you can make a profit on. That's the game. The rest of it's math.
Yeah, very true.
The rest of it's just literally a math equation. Does this price work? Good. Then you plug them into your system. You got them, your contractors, and then you flip it, and that's done. You got to be on the street cold calling, right? Or yellow letter writing or whatever you do to get business. But that's the job. So, and I didn't know that as a realtor. I didn't know that that's a realtor's job. But all these guys kept telling me, look, you should be in real estate, friendly. You're a good salesperson. You should be talking to people. You should do that. Go do that. Go do that. Go do that. And then finally, I got tired of the various jobs that I was picking up after credit repair. And I thought, all right, fine, I'll give it a shot. And I did, and I haven't looked back. I loved it. My only regret is I didn't start sooner. The money is great. People are great. The work, I get to work whatever 70 hours a week I want. It's just fabulous, you know?
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great opportunity to be with people during it should be a sacred time, but it turns out not to be for people. It's a very stressful, very intense time for people buying or selling their house. So I'm really honored when people give me the opportunity to participate in that with them.
Yeah, right. Good points, Aaron. Well, Aaron, as a real estate investor, sometimes some of the hardest things getting started is finding a good real estate agent to work with, one that's investor friendly, one that understands the lingo and, investors' goals. What are some things an investor could be looking for in an agent that would help them continue their goals and, buy good deals and continue to find things? Like you mentioned, there are a lot of synergies between agents and investors. They're doing the same things, doing cold calls, constantly developing business. So can you talk about some of those things that investors should be looking for?
Yeah, sure. When I'm working with an investor, we're both, me and they are looking for the same thing. So we're looking for reliability. We're looking for partnership. Communication, obviously, integrity. Warren Buffett thing is you want to find someone who's got, oh my God, what is it? It's integrity. Oh my God, I can't think of it. I'll have to look it up.
No
anyway,
problem.
Yeah, but the point is you want to find someone who works as hard as you do, who has integrity and is willing to, sacrifice for the greater good, like they're really into partnership. They're not in it for themselves. They're in it for the long haul. They're relationship building, not transaction building. And finding someone like that is like finding money on the ground. It's, you would be willing to, you give up a little bit of the pie to have more pie. That's really what partnership's about. So find someone who thinks that way, and then maybe not obviously, but you want to find someone who actually performs, someone whose performance, their actual track record suggests that they're better at their job than someone else. And that one thing is so underutilized, so underappreciated, so never considered. When people are looking for a realtor, it blows my mind. People don't look at, what is your track record?
How does one measure a real estate agent's track record, Aaron?
Such a good question, Jacob. And it's going to blow your mind how simple this is. It's just really, ready? You're buy houses and flip houses, right?
Yes.
Great. You're an investor. Good. So what's the one thing that's you really want when you go put a house on the market? What's your main concern?
I'd like for it to sell.
Good. But do you want it to sell for $1? You can get it to sell for $1.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to sell for my asking price.
Yes, exactly. You want it to sell for the most money in the least time, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. But even getting you to articulate that took a little something, right?
Yeah,
it's still not like flat. It's not like, what are you sitting on? A chair, right? And you would say a chair every time. It wouldn't even be a question. I'm sitting on a chair. But I say to people all the time, what's the one thing you want when you sell your house? And they hem and they haw and they question. It's not clear. The goal is not clear. No, the goal is to sell that thing for the most money in the least time with the least hassle. That's your goal. And if you get clear about that and you're flat, that is my goal. That is what I'm selling this. That's what I want in a realtor. Then how you measure their track record is like super easy. Then it's like, I want to find the guy that sells houses for the most money in the least time. Let me see your track record over the last 12 months. And then you look at their track record over the last 12 months and you compare that to like 3 or 4 other, 5, 6 other agents. You just get people to send you their MLS record over the last 12 months. And you'll be able to see like in a second, which one of these guys sold houses or gals sold houses for the more money in less time. It'll be right there. It's in black and white. Just nobody asks for it because they're not clear about what the goal is.
Yeah, that's a good point. First, understanding what your goal is as the investor and then trying to find an agent that fits that goal. Yeah, it's a really good point. And I didn't honestly know that an MLS record for an agent was even a thing. So that's not something I
they have. Yeah, it's great. I mean, that's the thing. It's just such an opaque kind of transaction. People don't know what they don't know, and they're not comfortable asking for what they don't know about, what they could be asking. The track record someone has is, of course, there's a record of every sale that happened. Every sale that happens, there's a record of. Good. They can print it out. They could show it to you. Now, I promise you ask a realtor for that, they're going to freak out. They're going to be like, what? No one's ever asked them for it. But there you go. Here's what realtors are prepared to tell you. Okay. This is what they want to tell you. They want to tell you how many units they sold and the dollar volume of those units. I sold 120 units and that was over 44 million last year. Right? That's the kind of thing a realtor is prepared to talk about. Okay.
That doesn't really mean anything to me as the investor, though.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. That's how well they did for themselves. That shows you The only thing that absolutely shows you, it could tell you more, it may be more interesting, but what it absolutely tells you is how good they are at getting business for themselves. It shows you how good they are at cold calling. It shows you how good they are at lead gen. It shows you how good they are at that, right? Selling themselves. What it doesn't show you is how good they are at selling houses.
Yeah, right. Good point. Which is your goal as the
Which
investor?
is your goal. I'd rather get someone who sold 20 houses last year at 110% of asking price than I would find someone who sold 120 houses at 95% of asking price.
Yeah, right. So Aaron, talking about these metrics, what are some numbers or metrics an investor should be looking for in an agent? I mean, it's kind of intimidating to interview an agent when, like you said, you don't know what you don't know. Like, what should you be looking for?
It's totally intimidating. And that's why, as one of the downloads in my book, you can get this as an email. So you send it out to people as an email. There's 7 questions that I've come up with that I think work, and you can come up with more. But the point is, you just send these out as an email. You don't ever have to confront people. You don't ever have to look them in the eye until after you get back the results. And then you take the top 3 or the top 4 and you actually interview them. Like, here's the thing, Jacob, that's so funny to me. And this is really like bizarre, like one of those not ha-ha funny, but like funny, like what?
Okay.
70% of people will hire the first realtor they talk to. Okay. That's a fact. That's a statistic that's been proven out any which way you want to go check. That's the way consumers operate. They will hire the first realtor they talk to, which is bizarre because you would never hire a CFO of your company or a CMO of a company by hiring the first person you talk to.
Yeah, right.
You would never hire someone to run your business by hiring the very, very first person you talk to. You just wouldn't. You barely hire someone to babysit your kids. You know, like when I got it, I worked at Burger King once. Okay. They interviewed me. There was an interview. They sat down and they had a checklist and they actually interviewed me. Right. No one interviews a realtor. No one has questions. They sit down and they ask and they say, okay, how much over asking price have you gotten houses for? And what's the average in this area? Because look, Jacob, in your area, 95% of asking price could be great. Yeah, houses could be selling for 80% of asking price regularly because at the down market, great. So you want to find someone who sells at 95%. That's fantastic. Seattle, everyone sells at 102%. Fine, great. So you selling at 100% isn't anything great, but selling at 105%, well, I just paid for my commission.
Yeah, right.
And the thing that people don't realize, and this is ready newsflash, here's the thing about realtors that nobody's going to tell anybody.
Okay.
The guy that cuts your hair, and I've seen your picture. So you have hair. Okay. I don't. If you look at, I have almost no hair left. But
right.
When the guy that cuts your hair at Sports Clips or wherever you go get your haircut or wherever your listeners get their haircut, wherever that is, and I don't care what state it is, I've looked into this. No state in the country has a requirement for a realtor to be trained more than 150 hours. That's Texas. Everyone else is right around 100 hours. 100 hours, it's just over 2 weeks of study, right?
Yeah, right.
To sell, to be a realtor, to be licensed as a realtor, 100 hours. The guy that cuts your hair, do you know how long they studied?
No.
And this is in every state, 1,000 hours.
Oh, wow.
1,000 hours to cut hair for a $20 haircut. The guy that you're going to give your flip to, your $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 property to sell, studied for 2 weeks. And you're going to hire the first one you talk to. You're going to feel awkward about asking them for their statistics.
Yeah, right.
That's whacked. How dare you feel awkward? How dare they make you feel awkward? They're applying for a job to represent you in the largest, now this is not, for an investor, this may not be the largest transaction of their life, but it's their business. As an investor, this is doubly silly to feel awkward because you're the CEO of a business. Your listeners have business licenses, have LLCs, have incorporated. They're a business. Good. You're looking for a business partner. You're looking for someone to do that. You don't get to feel intimidated asking them. If that person makes you feel intimidated, bye-bye.
Yeah, it is kind of a weird thing, Aaron, because as investors, you screen tenants, property management companies, vendors, all kinds of people, but it just kind of seems that agents are one of those people that just don't have to go through that challenge. So
they only don't have to go through that challenge because you don't put them through that challenge.
Yeah, right.
Really, it's beautiful, Jacob. That's my big takeaway. I really appreciate you saying that because that's a huge takeaway for me. And a talking point is, yeah, investors will screen tenants with way more rigor than they screen a realtor. That's wacky.
It is strange.
So that's why it's important to have a set of questions. That's literally why I wrote the book that I wrote, is to give people the opportunity to get settled about the questions they could ask so that they actually, and they're not like the best questions in the world. They're questions I made up and anytime you ask anyone any kind of questions, they're always to a certain extent arbitrary. People can add whatever they want. Measuring anything winds up being the thing about over asking price, under asking price, and days on market. I put those in because those are really, really, really simple to measure. You could actually measure those, not because those are the only things to measure, but because they're super simple to measure. And you can then compare apples to apples.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
So I think your investors, the number one thing they need to alter is their mindset.
Yeah.
They got to get committed to, they're the CEO, they're the boss, they have it, and they're going to be interviewing people. And people that don't want to be interviewed should be shown the door.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you really have to take control of your business, and this is just another part of that. Yeah, all right, Aaron. Well, what can an investor do to work well with their agent and make sure that that relationship is successful?
I think one of the best things that they can do is to just be honest with the agent. What do I mean? Like if you're new at the business, then you should tell people you're new and not try and fake it. Like pretend that you know what you're doing when you don't know what you're doing. It's fine to not know what you're doing. Just be straight about it. At the beginning, it'd be great to find an agent that wanted to work with a newer investor to nurture you along, right? And, there's a million courses that investors take to learn how to invest and all the spreadsheets and the formulas and the da-da-da that they know. And then they're going to give their agent, give me the ARVs on these 7 houses.
Yeah, right.
Okay. But if they're pretending they know what they're doing, it creates this inconsistency because the agent could say, look, these 7 houses are never going to pan out. Why? Because the neighborhood is trash and these are not where you want to be because I sell houses all the time and you can't make it on this. Okay, well, if you're brand new, then fine. Don't waste the agent's time pretending that you're not. And if you're a seasoned investor and you're looking for an agent, then also be honest, because if you're seasoned, the chances are you already have an agent and you're looking for additional agents. Great, then say that. Don't pretend that you are going to use them exclusively. Be really straight. Hey, I'm looking to expand my stable agents that I work with, and I'm wondering what value you have to bring to the table here. Be bold, be audacious, demand that your agent provide value. Find out what's out there. Find out what they can do, what they will do, what works for them. So I think being straight and honest about where you're at and what you're looking for makes the biggest possible difference in working with an agent from the perspective of what you could do to work well with an agent.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure transparency is key on both sides of the fence there. Just
Totally.
making sure that your interests are aligned, your goals are the same, everybody's on a clear path to the same target. I'm sure really helps out the whole relationship.
Yeah.
So Aaron, you're talking about, the first 70% of investors hire the first real estate agent they come across. Where can an investor go to find agents? I mean, there's not just a database that's at least commonly known of agents that are out there working in your area. You see a lot of advertisements, a lot of signs. Do you, just call the most people you see exposure to, or how do you find good agents?
Yeah, it's a really great question. We always joke in the business that everybody is born knowing 3 people, a mom, a dad, and a realtor. Realtors really are an epidemic, endemic in any area. There's tons and tons of realtors, right?
Yeah.
So a quick Facebook post in any of your investor Facebook groups saying, hey, who do you love as an agent would definitely garner 20 responses. I can't even imagine it garnering less than 10 responses, right? Agents should be hungry. They'll hear about it. It's like my dog. If I open the fridge at 11 p.m., they're like, what's up? Right?
Right.
You post on Facebook, I'm looking for a good realtor in this area. And it's like that, right? We got agents have super hearing like that. So they'll be all over you. So I don't think actually finding the people to interview has ever been an issue. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your investor community, get the names of 10 or 20 people that you could interview, and then send them an email saying, hey, I'm interviewing agents.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And then give them and say, could you provide me the answers to these questions? That way you're not wasting your time talking to people. You're not going to get pitched by people. You're going to actually give them the questions to ask, and then you'll be able to compare apples to apples. Then take the top 3, top 4. And have them take you to lunch. They're courting you. You have the value.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Well, Aaron, a lot of people look at real estate agents as just almost a commodity. Now, investors tend to appreciate real estate agents and their value a little more than most, but what is the impact of working with the wrong agent? I mean, it can really cost the investor or seller or buyer, whoever that might be, quite a bit. So can you talk about some of the risks you run working with the wrong agent?
Yeah, well, it's a really expensive proposition. So you run the risk of, especially from an investor perspective, you're burning 12% a year on hard money. So having your listing that sell for an extra 30 days is a big deal. It could cost you your entire profit margin on the deal in a second. That's probably the number one risk is money. I mean, that's what's at stake here. And that's really what you're risking is the return on your investment. I don't know any investors, well, certainly not in Seattle where the margins are big enough to mess around with that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, this is a financial relationship and, money's on the line. So if you pick the wrong person or make the wrong mistake, it's probably going to cost you financially. So that should be a motivator enough to continue to try to find a good agent to work with, interview them, go through all the steps you would just like anybody else. So yeah, definitely so. So Aaron, what else should real estate investors look for in their agent?
I think you want to look for synergy. Do you get along with them? So it's not just about performance. It's also about your ability to get along with them. Do you like them? Do you like spending time with them? Do they provide value? What's the value they provide? Do you feel smarter for having talked to them? It's like that. So what are the intangibles that you're looking for? Again, as much as getting clear on the tangibles that include your goal, what are the intangibles? What are you actually looking for? Are you brand new and you are looking for someone to mentor you? Are you seasoned and you're looking for someone to bring you deals, to bird dog for you? What is it that you want in terms of other aspects? Again, getting clear on the front end will provide dividends on the back end.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think those are all really good points. And it's just so important as a real estate investor, Aaron, to have a good agent that you can work with. They're one of your closest members on your team. You're talking with them almost on a daily basis, if not weekly basis, continuing to look for deals. And a good agent that is investor friendly can also help you underwrite deals. So can you talk about how much you can depend on an agent to help you look at a property from an investment standpoint?
Yeah, well, you can if you interviewed well and you knew what they were, in fact, that was a specialty of theirs, if that was a thing for them, you can. Look, it depends the market. Right now in Seattle, for example, there really are no MLS deals to be had for investors.
Yeah, okay? I find that true in several markets across the country.
Yeah, if it's in the MLS, it's not worthy of an investment. And I tell people that straight up. Now, they ask me, I look for deals that I can sell them off market. If I find a buyer that doesn't want to hassle with the MLS or their house is, but I don't spend the time cold calling for investors. I don't personally, but you could find a newer agent that would. They're prospecting anyway. I think it's a fair expectation if you created it up front for the agent to provide deals like that, but you've got to create it up front. And you got to be responsible for, if they're not on the MLS, then that means you're asking them to go do lead gen for you.
Yeah, right.
Right. And then what's in it for them to do lead gen for you? They really are. If they're an agent, they're really doing lead gen for them. They'd rather get the solid 3%. Now, I do lead gen if I find a deal for the investor, I generally take my 3% on the ARV. I'll cut my commission on the initial to almost nothing if I get the listing, the list back.
Yeah, I think that's
super valuable.
Yeah, and totally fair and, certainly worth your weight in gold for out there, doing lead generation for that investor. So yeah, I think most investors are more than happy to pay that commission on your end. Now, sometimes people are trying to shop around, get the best deal out of their agent, maybe going to discount brokers. Sometimes that's really not the best option. Maybe it actually costs that person to save a little money on the front end. Can you talk about what the risk people run there when they're trying to shop for those discount brokers?
Yeah, well, I don't think that people are responsible for, investors or people using a discount broker are responsible for what a discount means, right? In business, who and when do businesses offer a discount? You just got to think about it. Again, where and when do people offer a discount? And it's always under two circumstances that a business would offer a discount. And one is they're going to make it up on volume. It's like a Costco, Sam's Club, Amazon, right? They have a low profit margin, but they don't care because they're going to make it up on volume. Inside that sort of volume model it's a loss leader. They don't care that they're getting less money here because they're going to sell you something over here. All those kinds of business models allow for a discount. The other reason why people offer a discount is because the market won't pay full price for their services. It's a secondhand, it's a defective product or it's an overstock or something like that.
Oversupply, maybe.
Oversupply, or it's a cheap import, it's a cheap imitation. The market itself won't pay full price because if the market would pay full price, they would charge full price. There's no one out there thinking, well, I could get $100,000 for this, but I got nothing else to do. I'm just going to sell it at 50. Nobody sells anything for any less than they can get for it, right?
Definitely.
Unless they're going to make it up on volume. They're planning on getting so much business from it that their idea is to dominate a marketplace. Like Redfin has done this they come in and they drive down the price, and they don't care because they haven't, up until very recently, they have been investor owned, not publicly traded. So they don't have to worry about their profit. They just have to worry about running other people out of business, and they can charge what they want. And that's a viable business model. That's what people do. So you got to look to see, again, if you looked at their performance, you would know, is it worth the discount? I personally love when I'm dealing with a discount broker on the other side of the equation, right? Either they're the listing agent or they're the buyer's agent or they're a discount broker. I already know that they're lousy at their job because they can't even negotiate their own commission well.
You just know you're going to win against that person.
How am I not going to win against them? When it came time to defend the amount of money that they wanted, they took a cut on their own money. How quickly are they going to give up the equity of the person they represent?
Oh, man, that's a really good point you've got, Aaron, is like, if they can't negotiate their own commission, how are they going to negotiate a sell price for the person they're representing? Something
they can't. They just have and they can't be seasoned at what they do, because if they could get 3%, they would charge you 3%.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
They can't get 3%. That's why they're either newer or they love like the Redfin model. I mean, it's so bizarre. They get life insurance and they get, it's all this, it's guaranteed money. They don't even work on a commission. It's a salary thing. Okay, good for you. Great. Hire someone who works on salary. I know my statistics, and if you found someone who knew their statistics, I promise you get more money out of someone you don't care how much money they get. You care how much money you get. Don't be worried about how much money they're getting. Worry about how much money you get.
Yeah,
it's value, not price. Shop on value. It's like it's like trying to shop for a loan based on rates. Okay, rate is important, but closing on time is critical. And people don't get value. It's the difference between, shopping at Dollar General or shopping at Nordstrom's. It's where are you going to get the most value? I don't shop at Nordstrom's a lot, but it's where are you going to get the most value? And that's the question people should be asking.
Yeah, and I think when you compare it to maybe another profession, say in the medical field, you're not going to go to the hospital and beat up your surgeon on price. You want to know that you're getting the best surgeon, the best service out there. So you're not going to go to your surgeon and say, hey, could you do this surgery for 80% of, market value, whatever that is. And
totally.
Because your health, your life is on the line. So, if your money, your checkbook's on the line, you should treat it just like that.
Yeah, I think that's, 100% what the deal is. That's 100%.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, you've spent a bit of your time educating people, and you're actually an author of a couple books where you talk a lot about some of the things we've talked about on this show. Could you tell us a little bit more about what are in those books and point the audience to where they could find those?
Sure. First of all, the 7 questions you need to ask are in the book. And then there's a download in there where you can get the 7 questions in an emailable version, so you don't ever have to sit face to face with someone who doesn't perform. That's in there. But then it's also an opportunity to learn more about the psychology behind what makes people decide what they decide when they're buying or selling their home, and how you can use that to your advantage. And it goes through all the steps that a buyer or a seller could and should take when buying or selling their home, from a perspective of looking to see what's been hidden. So that's the Short Change by Shortcuts. It's my new book. And for your listeners, if they go to rationalrealestate.pro, they can get on the pre-order list for the book, and they can get the Kindle version, I think, for $1 or 99 cents. Sorry, 99 cents.
Okay.
So much cheaper than $1. And a physical copy of the book, it'll be $5.85. If you're an Amazon Prime member, then shipping will be included. If you're not, then I don't even know how to talk to you. How are you not an Amazon Prime member?
Yeah,
I don't know how people
get
live
with the
without
21st century here.
I don't even know how people live without 2-day shipping. It's like, so at any rate, that's the dealio with that. So if for your listeners, I'd be happy to get them on the pre-launch list, which I'm just finishing editing it. We'll launch it sometime in November, and they can get it for that price.
Oh, that's great, Aaron. Well, thank you. So that's Short Change by Shortcuts. And if the audience wants to go and get on that wait list and get a launch price, that's rationalrealestate.pro. So we'll certainly link those places in the show notes for our audience to go and check out that book and get it if they want.
Great. I'd love that. Thank you.
Well, Aaron, we certainly thank you for coming on the show. As we're wrapping up here, is there anything you'd like to leave with our audience? Any parting advice you've got?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the thing to do, I think mostly the most important thing to do is to get your mindset straight that you're the boss, and to deal with yourself like a business, like you really are running a business, and it matters. So I think I'd love to help with that. If people want to ever talk to me about anything, they're welcome to give me a call. All my contact information is on that website.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. We really appreciate your time on the show today, and we thank you and can't wait to talk to you till next time.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, that wraps up our interview today with Aaron Hendon. Aaron gave us a ton of great content and actionable advice around how to work with your listing agent, questions to ask them, and things you should know so that you can have a successful interaction with them. If you have any questions about anything mentioned on the show today, feel free to reach out to me. You can contact me at www.jacobayers.com/contact or connect with me on Facebook at The Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom. And if you like what you heard on the show today, please leave a rating and review on whichever platform you're listening on. Till next week, signing off, I'm your host, Jacob Ayers.
You've been listening to the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom podcast, providing you actionable content to build your real estate empire. Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for personal advice. The opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have a potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of the Real Estate Way to Wealth and Freedom, LLC, exclusively.